Ethics and relationships in ministry. Okay, so here are some key relationships. The ministers with God. Okay, so in ministry, one thing that I've learned through this course and through just talking to people who are in ministry, sometimes this can feel lonely, and you shouldn't feel this way because you always have that relationship with God. And one of the things about having that relationship with Him is that if you stick close to Him and listen to His guidance, He will keep you out of things that will get you into trouble. And so you should always look to foster that relationship with Him, not only because um He is the one who saves you, He is the one who wants a relationship with you, but it's also because of the fact that you're going to need to rely on Him throughout the career, right? So um that is why you need that, right? So, and the second one is your relationship with your spouse. Um, your spouse is someone who you can look to when you can look to no other human, right? He or she is the person you can give your deepest, darkest secrets and ha- know that you'll be able to keep that stuff with them. That spouse is someone that is a safe haven. I know within my marriage, that's somebody I can go to that I can feel safe sharing with and know that there's not going to be any judgment or condemnation, but somebody who is there to listen and to love me unconditionally or as unconditionally as possible. Outside of that relationship, Christ. So I always try to build that relationship because the stronger your relationship is with your spouse, the better off your children, your family, friends, and congregants will be because they um, know that you're stable, right? And then the next one is with your children. God calls us to be good parents. I know I'm not at that stage in my life yet where we have kids, but God, I know is giving me insights through some of my experiences to know what to do and what not to do, right? So, my current profession is a teacher, so I see high school to be exact. So I see some of the things that I like. Hey, you know what's going on here, and I figure out, oh, probably shouldn't do that as a parent, right? So, your relationship with your kids is important. How you raise your kids, you should raise your kids to be godly, loving people. Okay. And then your family, friends, and congregants. When I say family, your non-immediate unnuclear family, so cousins, brothers and sisters, and all that stuff, friends, people who you are friends with, and then your congregants that look to you to help shepherd them. Okay, so the next thing is fresh friendship with the opposite gender. This is something that all ministers need to be careful of. Make sure you get the blessing of your spouse. And I'll take this even further and say anybody who comes into your life and make sure that your spouse knows who you are friends with. Okay, that way there's trust there. Maybe there's something that you're missing that they're picking up on. Um, when it is somebody of the opposite gender, limit what you share. There's things that they do not need to know, right? If there's some issues between you and your spouse, you probably should not share that with somebody who is somebody of a different gender than you. Avoid at all costs being alone with someone of the opposite gender. Try to make sure if there's a meeting, you do it in a public space. Don't create any sort of idea that there is something going on between the two of you, right? That way, that everything stays above board and that there can never be an accusation or and that way there's no temptation. I'm gonna close with this story. My grandfather is a God-fearing man. Never called to be a minister, but he was called to be a leading part of a church in rural South Carolina. Someone I learned a great deal about ministry from, even though he never served in a vocational role. Trustee, treasurer for the church. One of the things that he did for a young mistress that came through was that there's a woman who loves to stay late into the night. We're talking 9 or 10 o'clock, and try to talk with the minister. And instead of leaving, he and going home to his house, he would stick around on the Wednesday night and just sit and stay until the woman left. And this was protecting this young minister's career, his family, and of course his ministry. And of course, this young minister is now ministering at other churches elsewhere. So, God, thank Him for that role and Him teaching me how to do these things within ministry.